You have had the daydream. It is February, the truck will not start, and somewhere across the water there is a man asleep in a hammock who has not owned a pair of shoes since the last time you filed a tax return. He does not know what your deductible is. He has never met your homeowners association. My name is Hank Ross. I am 70, and I live off the grid at the end of a road the plow does not come down. I did not get here by watching a video about a beach. I got here by reading a county ordinance until my eyes watered, and that is the exact skill this video is about. So let me take the shine off before I sell you anything. Almost every tropical paradise video you have ever watched is useless. Not wrong, useless. It will tell you a bungalow costs $30 a night, which is perfectly true, and it will never once tell you how many nights in a row a foreigner is legally allowed to sleep in that bungalow. That second number is the only one that decides whether you are going on a holiday or going for good. Before we go on, tell me where you are watching from. I read every one, 5 islands today. For each one I am giving you 3 things: what it costs, what the residency rule actually is, as of this August, with the real number attached, and the move, meaning the route from your own front door to a chair on that sand. Number 4 has the cheapest residency requirement in the Western Hemisphere, and I would wager nobody on your street in Ohio has heard of the place. Number 5 is the one everybody names first, and it quietly became the most expensive on this entire list about 7 months ago, which is a thing you would not know from a single video published this year. Number 1. Bocas del Toro, Panama. An archipelago on the Caribbean side, up near the Costa Rican border, wooden houses standing on stilts over green water, a town where the main road gives up after about 6 blocks and the taxis are boats. It is hot, it is wet, and the whole place smells of rain and diesel and frying plantain. The money is sensible rather than absurd. Off the water you can rent something decent for $600 or $700 a month. On the water you will pay double, and you will also learn what salt air does to a hinge. Now the part they leave out. Panama runs a program called the pensionado, and it is why quiet Americans have been moving there for 40 years without telling anybody. The requirement is a guaranteed pension of $1,000 a month. That is the whole test. Social Security counts. And the status does not expire, which means no renewal appointment, no annual shuffle of documents, no lawyer on retainer forever. There is more. The pensionado carries a stack of discounts written into Panamanian law on transport and medical care and a good deal else. Written into law, mind you, not a promotion that vanishes when the tourist board gets a new director. $1,000 a month, no renewals. Hold that number. Everything else today gets measured against it. But here is what nobody tells you about Bocas, and I will say it plainly because I would want somebody to say it to me. The islands run on boats and generators, and both of those break. Power goes at odd hours. The good clinic is on the mainland, not on the island, which means a bad night involves a boat in the dark. That is a real consideration at 70, and it is not a reason to stay home. It is a reason to live on the island with the clinic rather than the island with the best sunset. The people who last down there are the ones who chose boring and close. The ones who leave after 11 months chose the postcard. Number 2. Placencia, Belize. A long, thin finger of sand on the southern coast, where the main street is a footpath, and everyone around you speaks English, because this was British Honduras until 1981, and English is still the official language. That sounds like a small thing until you are 70 and trying to explain a heart medication to a pharmacist who is doing his best. The reef sits right off the shore. A plate of rice and beans and stewed chicken cost less than the coffee you bought on the way to work for 30 years. But what does that actually buy you in a year? Roughly the price of one American winter heating bill for 12 months of eating. What they leave out. Belize runs the Qualified Retired Persons Program, and the arithmetic is stiffer than Panama's. You must show $2,000 a month, or $24,000 a year, and here is the sentence no beach video has ever spoken aloud. That money must be deposited into a Belizean bank account, not shown on a statement, deposited. Moved into a bank in a country you do not live in yet. There is a residence test as well, 30 consecutive days a year inside the country, and the identification card renews annually. So this is not the set it and forget it arrangement Panama offers. It is a relationship with an office. 2,000 a month instead of 1,000, money that has to physically move, and a renewal every 12 months. It is still a good deal. It is simply not the deal the thumbnail promised you. And there is one more thing about Belize that works entirely in your favor, which is that the paperwork is in English. Every form, every clerk, every lease. Ask anybody who has tried to argue about a utility bill in a language they learned from a phone application how much that is worth. I would put the value of it at a couple of $100 a month in avoided aggravation, and aggravation is the currency that actually runs out first when you are older. The truth is that most people who fail at this do not fail on money. They fail on friction. Wrong forms, wrong office, wrong month, a lease they could not read, and one day they are back in Wisconsin telling everybody that it did not work out down there. Number 3. Siquijor in the Philippines. A small island in the middle of the Visayas that Filipinos themselves regard as faintly haunted, a reputation that has done a magnificent job of keeping the crowds off it. Waterfalls, a coast road you can ride all the way around in 90 minutes, and a cost of living that will make a man from Michigan sit down on the curb and stare. What they leave out, and here the news is genuinely good, the Philippines runs the special resident retirees visa. With a pension, the requirement is $800 a month for one person or $1,000 for a couple, alongside a $15,000 deposit. With no pension at all, it becomes a $30,000 deposit and no income test. The program was reorganized into an expanded version, and the minimum age for new applicants came down to 40. Like Panama's, it does not expire. $800 a month, that is under what a great many people watching this draw from Social Security by themselves. On this island, the deposit is the hurdle. The income is not. Now, why would anybody put $15,000 into a foreign bank? Because that deposit is not a fee. It is your money, held, and in the Philippine program it can generally be converted into qualifying property or a long lease later on. So the question is not whether you can afford to lose it, the question is whether you can afford to have it sit still for a few years. Those are two very different questions, and most people only ask the first one. The other thing about the Philippines is distance. It is a long way, 20 hours of aeroplane, and a time difference that makes a phone call to your son an act of scheduling rather than affection. Panama is 4 hours from Houston. That gap is not on any cost of living chart, and it is the single most common reason I hear for somebody coming home. If you are getting something out of this, hit subscribe. I put one of these out every week, and I would rather you caught the one about the country you are actually looking at than have this be the only one you ever see. Hank has no marketing department. Hank has a laptop and a solar panel and a dog with opinions. Now, before the last two, we have to talk about the thing that sinks more of these plans than money ever does, and it is the thing I had never once heard mentioned in a video about a hammock. Medicare does not come with you. Original Medicare covers you inside the United States. It does not cover care in Panama, Belize, the Philippines, Honduras, or Mexico. There is a narrow exception near the Canadian and Mexican land borders, which will do you no good at all on an island. And here is what catches people. If you simply leave and change nothing, Part B keeps billing you $202.90 a month this year for coverage you physically cannot use. So you look at that and you think, fine, I will cancel it. Dropping Part B saves you about $2,435 a year. But people come home, wives get sick, grandchildren arrive, and if you re-enroll later, the penalty is 10% for every year you were out, and that penalty is permanent. It rides on your premium every month you draw breath after that. So what does a sensible man actually do about it? The honest alternative is an international policy. At 65, plan on somewhere between $300 and $700 a month for proper expatriate cover, depending on the region and on whether you want it to work when you are back in the States visiting your daughter. There is the true line nobody puts on screen. The bungalow is $30 a night. The medical is the mortgage. Do you know which of those two numbers is in your own plan right now? Number 4. Roatán, Honduras. An island off the Honduran coast, sitting on the same barrier reef as Belize, with diving better than most places, charging 4 times the price. English is widely spoken here as well, another leftover of the same colonial history. It is rougher at the edges than Belize. The roads will rattle your fillings. It is also considerably cheaper. What they leave out, and this is the number I promised you at the top, Honduran retiree residency, also called a pensionado, asks for $1,500 a month from a guaranteed source outside Honduras. Social Security qualifies, a pension qualifies. And that single application covers a spouse as a dependent, $1,500 a month. For 2 people. Read that twice. Remember what Panama asked, $1,000 for 1 applicant. Honduras asked $1,500 and includes your wife. Run that as a household, and Honduras is arguably the cheapest entry on this entire list, and it is a 2-hour flight from Texas. Now put that beside Belize. Same reef, same fish, a short flight apart. Belize wants $2,000 and a bank deposit and a yearly renewal. Honduras wants $1,500, and your wife rides along on the same paperwork. $500 a month is $6,000 a year, which is a car, or a very good year of medical cover, and the water is identical. Number 5, and this is the one that earns your time today. Isla Mujeres, Mexico. Everybody knows Mexico. It is the default answer. It is close. You can drive to the border from Texas or Arizona inside a day, and half the retirees in Florida have a cousin who did it in 1998 and has been telling the story ever since. Isla Mujeres is a small island off Cancun, white sand, golf carts instead of cars, ferries all day. Here is what changed, and it changed this year. Mexico raised the income requirement for temporary residency, and the soft landing is gone. The threshold now works out around $4,400 a month of demonstrated income, or something near $74,000 in savings. And the residency processing fees doubled on the 1st of January. Read that against the rest of the board. Panama, $1,000. The Philippines, $800. Honduras, $1,500. Mexico, $4,400. The easiest country to reach became the hardest country to qualify for inside a single January. And I would bet a good sum that not one video you have watched about retiring to Mexico this year has said it out loud, because most of them were written before it happened, and nobody goes back and edits a video that is already earning. That is not me being clever. That is the entire reason I read ordinances instead of watching drone footage. But let me be fair to Mexico for a moment, because it deserves it. It is still the only country on this list you can reach by road, which matters enormously if you intend to bring a truck, a dog, and a workshop rather than 2 suitcases. Nobody is driving a pickup to Siquijor. And if you already hold Mexican residency from before this year, you are not affected by any of it. The change hits new applicants. So if you have been sitting on the idea for 3 years, waiting for a better moment, I am sorry to tell you the better moment was last year. Right. Now let us do the practical part, because knowing a place exists is not the same as knowing how you would get there. And here is where most people stall, not on the decision, on the first phone call. For Panama, you fly to Panama City, take the domestic hop out to Bocas Town, and you rent for a month before you commit to anything at all. Engage a Panamanian lawyer for the pensionado. That application is a document exercise, and a local will finish it in a third of the time and half the temper. For Belize, land at Belize City, then take the small plane down to Placencia, and go and stand inside a bank before you go and stand on the beach, because that account is the real gate and everything else is scenery. For the Philippines, land in Manila, then catch the domestic down to Dumaguete, and take the little ferry across. Do the deposit arithmetic at your own kitchen table before you book anything. With a pension, this is the cheapest income test on the list. For Roatán, there are direct flights from Houston, but go during the rainy season, not in March. Anybody can love an island in March. Go when the roads are running with water and the power is out and the ferry is canceled, and see whether you still want it. That is the only honest test there is, and it costs one plane ticket to run. There is one more thing worth saying about all 5 of these places, and it is the thing that took me the longest to learn about my own road. The question is never whether a place is cheap. Cheap is easy to find. The question is whether the place is cheap in the specific ways that match how you actually live. If you cook, a country with a good market is cheap. If you eat out, a country with a good market is irrelevant. If you drive, fuel and parts and a mechanic who will not rob you matter more than rent. If your knees are gone, one story and a flat road are worth more than a view. Nobody can do that sum for you, and no video can, including this one. All I can do is hand you the legal numbers, and the legal numbers are the ones nobody else will give you. For Mexico, you now begin at a consulate on American soil with 6 months of statements, and you find out whether you qualify before you spend $1 on a flight. Here's a question I would genuinely like you to answer before you close this. If your monthly income is under $2,000, which of these 5 just became the only real option you have? Sit with it for a moment. It is the most useful sum in this entire video, and it takes about 9 seconds to do in your head. One last thing, and it sells nothing. The reason I know exactly what a February does to a man is that I have had 31 of them at the end of this road. My wife used to say the same sentence every year around the middle of the month, that she would like to see the ocean properly before she got old. We never went. That is not a sad story, it is just a true one, and it is the reason I will not sit here and pretend the paperwork does not matter. The paperwork is the only thing that turns a daydream into an address. Tell me in the comments which of the 5 you are actually looking at, and whether it is the money or the medical that is stopping you. I read every one, and the question that comes up most is the one I build the next video around. Next week I am doing exactly this to 5 states here at home, the ones where the county leaves a man alone and the property tax is a rounding error, because not everybody wants to learn a new language at 70. So, February, the truck that will not start. The hammock, and the fellow asleep in it who has never heard of your homeowners association. The daydream costs nothing. The address costs $1,000 a month in Panama, $800 in the Philippines, $1,500 in Honduras, and about $4,400 in Mexico, plus whatever you decide your own health is worth. Now you know which line you are standing on.